Hello beautiful bookworms. It's been nearly a year since I posted my last video. Frankly, I've been prioritizing and reorganizing my real life to be simpler and slower for my mental health. And I'll be honest, it's really working for me. Spending less time in front of screens and on the internet has been great. And I'm going to continue to generally do that. That said, I have not stopped making videos here on YouTube because it is still something I enjoy doing from time to time. I'm simply going to make them as and when I feel I have the time and mental energy to do so. From here on, I intend to be an anti-algorithm content creator. With that out of the way, I would like to give you all a library update because some things have definitely changed in this room, but also I am planning to change them even more fairly soon. So I sort of wanted to document the stage it's in right now because it is a space I really enjoy and would like to be able to look back on. I will then explain what I intend to change and why at the end. So for now, this is what my dream fantasy library looks like as of now, April 2025. Since my last library update, volume 5 of my Building My Dream Library playlist, there have been 3 main updates to the room. First, I have added a new bespoke shelf above my window, which matches the one above my door and on the wall. This is now showing off some more of my Harry Potter and Wizarding World prop collection, for now. I had always intended to put one up here. I mentioned that in previous videos. What can I say? I do like to maximize my wall space. But another idea which popped up only recently was to add some corner shelves into this space here between the bookshelves and the window. I was never happy with the extra space here, but that's just the way the room is built and where the window is placed. So these shelves have perfectly solved that issue, and now I can use it to display some of the highlights from my book collection. And finally, I have, of course, moved my desk into the center of the room. It was against this wall before, but I moved it to the center of the room for my annual Halloween spooktacular party, when I turned my house into an escape room-esque quest for my friends and family. Last year, 2024, the quest was Harry Potter themed, and my library served as the headmaster's office at Hogwarts, so the desk being more central was key as the puzzle in this room began at Dumbledore's desk. I am still working on editing the footage from the quest and will eventually get that uploaded here, or if you're watching from the future and I already have, see the link in the top corner and in the description. I think I did that right. This one? This one. But regardless, once I put the desk in the center of the room, I found that I really liked it. Even though the desk was functional against the wall and left the center spacious, if I ever came to work, all I'd see of this room I've put so much effort into was a green wall. Now with the desk central, I can actually soak in and enjoy the space. In its former place, I now have this vintage chaiselong. The intention was to actually create a little reading space in my library. But that said, I'm going to be putting the desk back against the wall. But before I get into my future plans, let's take a look at the library as it is now. I'd like to take you closer up this time and show off some of the library's hidden treasures. Well, what do you think? I really do love this space as it is now, and I really, really do like the desk in the center of the room. So why am I going to change it? Well, to be perfectly honest, it's because even though I like it, I don't come in here very often at all. Hard to believe, I'm sure. But the reality is, this is not the most comfortable room in the house. It's very pretty, but it's not comfortable. And other rooms in the house are extremely comfortable. Mainly the living room, which is also very aesthetically pleasing with our ever-growing medieval and fairy tale aesthetic. So that is where I tend to gravitate. Not to mention that is where my dogs gravitate, and I feel very guilty being at home and not being with my dogs. So I basically end up going wherever they are. They are quintessential lap dogs and give me sad eyes whenever I am not in lap time position. So that is the next step for this room. Operation Comfy Cozy. So the desk is going to go back against the wall. As far as that chaise longue, unfortunately, it is not working for me at all. I had intended to dye the upholstery and use it to create a little reading space, but I'll be honest, it's not comfortable enough to draw me or my dogs up here. I have tried putting them there with a cozy blanket when I wanted to be in this room, but they're not fond of it. So that is likely going to be donated to a charity shop. We don't really have anywhere else for it to go, unlike all the rest of the furniture I've tried and rejected in this room, which have managed to find other spaces in which to live. Then what I'm going to do is put some sort of sofa bed thing, I'm not sure precisely yet, but something extremely cozy and comfortable that can also allow this room to double as a second guest room if needed. It needs to be cozy enough to keep the dogs comfortable and to draw me away from the other cozy rooms of the house. These days I like to read lying down, so I usually go to the couch or our bed. I never read in my library, and that's just silly. That needs to change. Ergo, Operation Comfy Cozy. To start things off, I already have ordered some new additions for the room. Let me show you. First, I needed a new office chair because the kneeling chair I had in here just didn't work for my body. The chair currently in here is actually one of our dining chairs, which again, I put up here for the Halloween party and just haven't bothered taking back downstairs as I don't yet have a better alternative until now. I wanted an office chair that frankly wasn't ugly and that I could sit cross-legged on. So I found this chair, which also comes with a little lumbar support pillow. So far, I'm very pleased with my choice. It is very comfortable. Next, I knew if I was going to make a cozy reading bed area, I would need a good reading lamp. This room can get quite dark, but I also had been on the lookout for a floor lamp to have in the background of my videos to improve it as a filming set. I looked at various UK suppliers online and found this lovely, very sturdy lamp with a candle effect. Finally, not something you're going to see necessarily, but should hopefully improve my videos nonetheless, I bought some new LED film lights that are easy to set up and compact to store. And I have to say, those combined with the aperture light that I already had on my wall over here, already it's revolutionized my filming. As well as a new monitor for my camera. Hopefully this will save me a lot of time when I am in the mood to film so that I will not let another year go by before my next video. Filming has always been my least favorite part of the process. I love the researching, the scripting, the editing, but I always end up frustrated on filming day. Hopefully these tools will help with that. Oh, and in case you were wondering, I mostly keep my film equipment tucked away in the bottom portion of this cabinet. Other eventual future plans, I still haven't insulated the cupboard, and that definitely still needs to happen. However, I have made myself a draft excluder to help the draft in the colder months, and my husband recently fitted our entire house with smart radiator valves, so the temperature is much more controllable in here and more efficient. That was another reason why I didn't come in here much previously. In the long term, and I've mentioned this before, my husband is going to build me some better quality bespoke bookcases in the style of the ones at West Horsley Place, which is where the BBC show Ghosts was filmed. As big fans of the show, we've toured Button House a few times now. Off the
wrong?
And every time we always look at the bookshelves in the library. They have this very unique slotting system to them that would make all of the shelves adjustable without having to relocate pins. Anyway, Handy Husband said he will make me some just like them someday. And finally, I'd like to address my Harry Potter collection. I am and always will be a self-proclaimed Potterhead, and being a small part of the Potter collecting community online has been a blast. In this very room, I even got to represent the fans of the Wizarding World for a docu-series called Icons Unearthed about the making of the Harry Potter films. This was a very lucky result of a short video I posted a few years back showing off my collection, which was used for the closing credits of each episode of the series, in addition to bits of my interview, which featured in the last 3 episodes. With that said, participating in that docu-series, as well as pulling off the massive Halloween quest I mentioned earlier, have sort of been a pinnacle of my collecting career, at least this specific collection. Since I was young, I've had the drive to collect different things, and specifically started creating and collecting Harry Potter prop replicas around the time that the first and second films came out, when I was about 12 years old. But for the past year or two, I've been thinking a lot about whether to keep collecting, whether I even need all that I have, and whether it's time to pass on some of the magic and move on to a different chapter in my life. The filming opportunity and the Halloween event, again for which I will be uploading a video as soon as I can, have made me very grateful that I've kept everything to this point, but I am now at a point in my life where I'd like to declutter and simplify life a bit, prioritize spending my money on living a fulfilling life rather than simply acquiring more stuff. It may sound silly after seeing my very maximalist design style, and that really won't change, but there is a point when a room gets full. And there is plenty hidden away that you can't see, trust me. So there is certainly opportunity for decluttering without losing myself and my style. And maybe it's just that I'm getting older, but the decision now feels very natural to halt this collection. Keep a shelf or two of some of my favorite items to keep the magic alive in this library, but forward the rest onward to other people who may enjoy a bit more magic in their own lives. It doesn't mean I will stop loving the Wizarding World. So my plans are to keep the shelf above my window and my display cabinet as Potter spaces for now, and anything I have collected that can also be put to practical purpose around the house, such as the antique smoking cabinet currently on my desk, which features in Professor Lupin's office in Prisoner of Azkaban, but also doubles as a beautiful organizing space, will remain. But anything in excess of those really special items I wish to keep there, I will likely be gradually selling. You can follow me on Instagram at SquirrellyNerdyJess or at my collecting Instagram at MagicalPropReference should you wish to potentially purchase any items when I decide to sell them. Still, one reason I wanted to make this video now is as a last hurrah, showing off the full collection. And that is all for now. If anyone has suggestions for anything I've mentioned in my future plans, especially with regard to a comfy sofa type bed situation, throw them my way in the comments. As always, a big thank you to my current 7,848 subscribers, as well as all other fellow bookworms, collectors, and nerdy human beings watching, and anyone joining in from the future. Hello, future. I'm going to try something new and read a quote from a book I recently read and enjoyed at the end of my videos. The last physical book I've read was Sunrise on the Reaping, the Hunger Games prequel that very recently came out. And I was very much struck by this quote from Plutarch Heavensbee. Public opinion is driven by emotion. People have an emotional response to something, then they come up with an argument for why it logically makes sense. Just something to think about. I also have just finished the audiobook of Careless People by Sarah Wynne-Williams, the whistleblower expose of Facebook and Meta, and I have no words. I am so glad I deleted my Facebook a few months ago. But I will not dive into all that now. Instead, I am re-immersing myself into fiction with a brand new book that's just arrived. The Hive by Anna February, which is a young adult novel about a society that's structured like a bee colony. It's dystopian, it's a bit of fantasy, it's a royal murder mystery, and so far it's very intriguing, but I've only just started it. To be fully transparent, this book was written by my sister-in-law, who also writes fantasy novels for adults under the name A.F.E. Smith, but I genuinely enjoy reading her novels and can highly recommend them. I've also read some reviews of The Hive so far and have seen that it's great for fans of the Hunger Games, which, seeing as I have just read Sunrise on the Reaping, it's the perfect segue. And with that, be kind, be curious, be authentic, and effective. Bye!